looking at online, saw an interview that popped up on a show called Wrestling Life with Ben Veal. Just to give him credit, the tagline is "Real talk from real talent." I like it. So shout out to Ben Veal. And he had why are you laughing? He had Buff Bagwell on, Buff the Stuff, Marcus Bagwell to some. By the way, and I believe what Stars and Stripes, Marcus Bagwell and the Patriot was who Harlem Heat won their first WCW tag team titles
Yeah.
against
Yeah,
back in
that's
the
right.
day.
Beat them
So,
boys down.
beat them up.
Beat them down.
Stars and Stripes
Yeah.
for Harlem Heat.
Like
Oh,
they
those are
say
back
so.
with good tag team names though. Stars and Stripes is a good tag team name. It's a really good one.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. I like the Patriot too. He's really cool.
Don Wilkes, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I was listening to this, and Buff started talking about the match that you and he had on the main event of Monday Night Raw, Tacoma, Washington.
Is this a recent interview?
Yeah, this was 2 days ago. 2 days ago, this came out. Why do you ask if have you seen this one or something?
No, it's just because Buff Bagwell keep telling this story, man. He just keep telling this story over and over and over and over. I've heard it like 1,000 times, and it's like I get it. I get it. You know what I mean? What happened with him in WWE? It didn't work out. His career pretty much, floundered from that point on. I get it, but I just keep hearing this story, man. And I've tried my best not to. Go ahead. Let me hear it.
Okay, well, here's a clip from
I want to see if it's any different than the last time I heard it.
So this is Buff Bagwell again. Shout out, credit to Wrestling Life with Ben Veal, is the name of it. Here's Buff the Stuff in gimmick, by the way.
It wasn't that it wasn't that bad. It wasn't bad at all. There's not one flaw in that match. There's not a missed clothesline. There's not a punch that looks bad. Every punch, every move, every single drop kick, every kick, it was right on the money. It just wasn't what they wanted. And they made people believe that it was a bad match. It's not the truth, though. It just isn't. There's a bad match when you see a guy, duck a clothesline that's not there, or he misses a drop kick, or he's off a little bit in the ring. There was nothing that happened bad in that match. But there's two things that people don't know. Number one, they don't know that nobody talked to us about that match. Booker T would also confirm this, but when we got to the back, me and Booker were kind of blaming each other for it just not flowing well. It didn't flow good, but again, there wasn't nothing wrong with the match, but it just didn't flow real good for me. And me and Booker have had thousands of great matches. And so me and Booker were excited about the match, but it didn't flow real as smooth as we liked it to. But Booker, we got to the back and they were like, and Johnny Ace was in charge of the 12 wrestlers that got hired at WWE first. And then Pat Patterson is who did all of the main event finishes from the WWF. So neither one of them came and talked to me and Booker. All that we were told to do was Stone Cold came to us and he told us that him and Kurt were going to hit at the end of their match, beat Booker up, beat me up. I was going to join and help beat Booker up, and then they were going to turn on me and toss me out the back too. We had no talk about what kind of match they wanted. There was nobody came to us and told us exactly what they wanted. So we didn't know. We just went out and gave them a WCW style match. And that's not what the WWF does, but we didn't know that. We went out and did the best we could. And they acted like we fell over each other. But the biggest thing a lot of people don't realize is the next week was Atlanta, Georgia. Why would anybody if this one sentence don't say it all, who puts on a match a week before Atlanta when you're calling it the Invasion? The Invasion would have been perfect, not 2 weeks away, not a month away. 7 days later, we could have done me and Booker in Atlanta, Georgia, and the roof came off the place.
Yeah. Boom. Well, there you go. There's Buff the Stuff talking about the match in Tacoma, Washington, which I know a lot of people have always discussed over the years. Well, was there anything that he said that was inaccurate, or this is your first time hearing this, by the way? I know that this is your first time hearing this. So,
Oh, I mean, I've heard the story 1,000 times.
well, first time with that clip.
Yeah, it's the first time with this clip right here, and you know, I've avoided talking about it on purpose because you know a lot of it is inaccurate. I mean, it really is. A lot of it is inaccurate. Could we have had the match in Atlanta 2 weeks later? Of course we could have, but we wasn't in WWF to be endeared. They didn't care about, you know, making us look good. It wasn't about making us look good. And I think I realized that very, very quickly. Right off the bat, I realized that. Even though I came in a heavyweight champ as well as the United States champ, I knew I was going to have to earn my keep in that company. Again, man, I hate even, you know, I don't even want to, you know, I mean, like I said, that's the way Buff remembered. But, you know, the week before Buff and I worked that match in Tacoma, we worked a house show. And I knew the match in Tacoma wasn't going to go well. And I remember going, just like he was talking about John Laurinaitis, who also is Johnny Ace. I went to Johnny Ace and I told Johnny Ace if it was any way we could postpone this match, because I just didn't think it was going to go well. And Johnny Ace goes, "It's nothing I can do."
Mm.
So therefore, the fix was in. The fix was in, bro. That's something I never said before. I've never talked about, because that's, you know, that's here nor there.
It's old stuff, right?
Yeah, it is. And then going out and having the match, it wasn't a match that Buff and I had 1,000 times. It wasn't. You know, the match Buff and I had 1,000 times was far gone by that time. It really was. You know, and I mean, I don't want to get into, you know, the backstage, you know,
Sure.
you know what the way I remember it, you know, but the story is just not accurate. It's not accurate to the way I remember it. Just because I know that night I was ready to perform at the highest level, and that night I did not perform at my highest level, and that was one of the only nights that I could not go out and will that match into existence. And I could say this, it wasn't my fault.
Well, because I mean, you always prided yourself on going out there and giving them the quote unquote follow that performance, right?
I think that's the first time I ever got the boring chant.
And only time?
Yeah, that's the only time I ever got that.
Yeah.
It was in that match. And I remember exactly why. I remember exactly when it started happening. And I was like, wow, I was so mad and I was so upset. Just because I wanted to conquer WWE. I wanted to come and be able to perform with anybody in the world. And you know, I wasn't performing with a WWE guy, I was performing with a WCW guy. But I still wanted to come there and show the world, you know, how good I really was. And that night, I just couldn't do it.
When you get that boring chant and you're going and the match is over and you're walking to the back, was there a thought in your mind of like, is this how my story ends in WWE? Did you think that for a second?
No, not for 1 second. I knew I was going to get another opportunity. That's all I needed, was just another opportunity. And I think right after that, they brought Dallas Page in, and me and Dallas, we went out and we worked. I think that was the next guy that I worked, was Dallas Page, from a realistic perspective. And me and Dallas, we went out and we worked our asses off, even though Dallas wasn't like a high flyer or anything like that. But it showed that, you know, I mean, the guy could work, you know, give him a break. You know, it was one of those type of things. I never had any, you know, thoughts whether I was going to make it in WWE or, you know, like for 1 second, not one thought did I ever think I was, you know, going to make it. I knew I was going to make it.